What do you get when you cross the Metamorphosis by Kafka and Being in Nothingness by Sartre? You get Women in the Dunes by Abe Kobo. Hello, my name is Chen. This is my first booktube video and I'm dedicating it to my BFF, Adam. Adam is the host of the Memento Mori Booktube Film Club. He's been encouraging me to do this for a while, so here I am, and thank you, Adam. In case you're wondering, this is not me, this is all Abe in the Dunes. In a nutshell, the story is about a man getting used to a different way of life. The protagonist is a school teacher who has this interesting obsession with insects, or rather with becoming immortalized as the discoverer of a new species. Unlike Kafka's protagonist, he didn't actually wake up like this. But throughout the novel, his existence is not unlike that of an insect. He got trapped in the sand dunes and gradually became the insect he set out to find. Abe loved the insect metaphor and has used it many times in his stories such as The Ark, Sakura, and The Red Cocoon. So according to Abe, a boy who loves collecting insects is a boy who suffers from the Oedipus complex. The boy copes with his complex by pinning his insects. Let me piggyback on Abe's psychoanalysis for a while. So if the pin is a symbol of the phallus, then what does the insect symbolize? Is it the father or the mother? When an entomologist with the Oedipus complex sticks a pin into the insect, is he killing the father with his own penis, or is he making love to the mother? I think Abe has preempted my question. As the narrator quickly points out, adult entomologists are extremely reclusive, kleptomaniac, and homosexual. Abe and I don't see eye to eye. Still, this is a great novel. It's a fascinating read. What the novel does really well is this indirect interior monologue. I'm not talking about this little stream of consciousness here and there. I'm talking about this constant quicksand of consciousness. It's exhausting. Even so, there are a lot of treasurable quotes hiding in the sand dunes of consciousness. For example, all men were equal before death and venereal disease. And here's another example. He could not understand why he was so terribly attracted by her thighs, but he was. So much that he felt like taking the nerves of his body and coiling them one by one around them. I love this shot. I think this shot creates such a nice psychological and spatial depth. But in terms of adapting that line into a visual image, I think a POV shot of the male protagonist would have worked much better. But there's also something voyeuristic that works for me in the shot. It's like the director is inviting the audience to steal a look at the female body. The movie was directed by Teshigahara Hiroshi. No doubt the Japanese auteur Kurosawa Akira is incredible. But Teshigahara Hiroshi has totally won me over with this production. Abe's novel has great visual qualities. He's such a marvelous crafter of textual space, which reminded me of Borges' library. The Library of Babel is a space of disorientation, of infinite expansion. The more you know, the less you know. And we could say the same thing about Abe's Sand Dunes. As I was reading Abe's novels, I kept having these wonderful mental images. And usually I like my own mental images better than the director's. But dude, Teshigahara, he's wild. The film has several long shots or extreme long shots that are just beautiful. Like this long shot with a little upshot. Look at this long shot in combination with a high angle shot. Look also closely at the lines. The vertical lines parallel the protagonist's direction before they're interrupted by a number of horizontal lines, adumbrating his failed attempts at escaping. This obviously is not a long shot, but this worm's eye view is simply breathtaking. We can say that these straight lines are radiating. They symbolize the protagonist's many attempts to escape from the sand dunes. We can also say that these straight lines are converging at their vanishing point at the center of the parasol. insinuating he belongs in the sand dunes. Either way, the parasol looks like an eye, returning the audience gaze. This is also a love parasol. In a Japanese society, a man and a woman sharing an umbrella is considered a sign of romance. And as the novel and the movie have told us, the two slowly develop feelings for each other. They live together like husband and wife. Again, I would prefer a POV shot here, which would allow me to better identify with the female protagonist. But voyeurism is always welcome. There are long shots and there are close-ups. These are not lies in the woman's hair, these are the sand. And how about these delicious close-ups? The curves. They look just like the curves of the sand dunes. For Jean-Paul Sartre, freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. Of course, I'm taking the quote out of context. But I think Abe's novel illustrates this saying quite nicely. The guy eventually finds his freedom in his incarceration. Also for Sartre, the other is a very important mediator between one and oneself. In the novel, the sand is the other, the mediator. It's the mediator that helps the protagonist realize his limits and understand himself better. He's self-centered, misogynistic, not at all a likable character. But he's definitely not flat, and this is a great novel. But the film is simply captivating. In this God's eye view shot, both protagonists become the insects. The camera pins them down in the insect box that is the frame. So the director turned us on our heads. To the extent that the men and women are the insects, the audience then become the adult entomologists, who take pleasure in keeping the bugs, dead or alive. A few years later, we find the Japanese director Shinoda paying tribute to Teshigata with this shot. We see a similar shot in Almodovar's 2011 film, The Skin I Live In. The Skin I Live In is reminiscent of the 1962 film Eyes Without a Face, which may have inspired Abe's 1964 novel The Face of Another, and which Teshigata adapted into a motion picture in 1966. Again, we're seeing lines everywhere. All things considered, I liked the movie a little more than the novel. In any case, if you're fond of sand dunes and salty air, I recommend both the novel and the movie to you.
If you're fond of sand dunes and salty air,